From Studio 119A, the exit interview with Micha Kucher.
Tonight my guest is Miss Angela Cancemi, who has taught for 35 years and at Jericho for 31. She's taught earth science, biology, marine biology, animal behavior, environmental chemistry, health, and most notably forensics. Ms. Cancemi created the forensics class in 2002. The class has been very popular since its creation, with a minimum of 4 classes every year. It's been the only class she's taught since she created it. As she approaches retirement, we take a moment not just to celebrate a distinguished career, but to understand the story that led up to it. Ms. Cancemi, welcome to the exit interview.
Thank you, Micha.
So, I said already, but it's not just what you've done, but how you got here. So, when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, I guess I always had a fascination with science. That was always something I loved, but I had a fascination with pathology, which is odd. I used to read the medical thesaurus all the time, which is also odd. But I always found disease fascinating, and how you can diagnose diseases and stuff like that. So I thought I was going to go into pathology, and then once I got to college, things got a little derailed from there.
When you were a kid, were you did other kids find you weird that you were so into science?
I grew up in a very, very small town. I graduated with 52 people. So we were all a little weird, I guess. But no, I mean, we all kind of really liked each other. So no, I never felt persecuted for my love of science, I guess.
And when you were 17, 18, a senior in high school, what was your plan for college or for whatever you were going to do after high school?
I knew I wanted to go to college. I did very well in high school. I graduated second in my class, but out of 52, that's like coming in second on a race out of 2. But I knew I wanted to go to college, but we didn't have a lot of money, so my options were limited, but I got a lot of financial aid, and I ended up going to Syracuse almost completely on financial aid and scholarship, and my plan was to study pre-med pathology, but because my funds were so limited, I couldn't go beyond 4 years because the money would have ran out and medical school was not an option. So I had to kind of pivot, and science education was something I could graduate in 4 years with the courses that I had, and that's the path that I went down. But I didn't think I was going to be a science teacher. I thought I was going to go into editing. I actually, for 2 summers, I interned at a publishing company, and I actually wrote a little kindergarten science chapter in a kindergarten science book. But then I found out there was no money in editing, so I ended up teaching.
And how did you get into teaching? What was your turning point, I guess?
The turning point was my sophomore year in college. I knew that I had to graduate in 4 years because there was no option for me money-wise to go further. And I thought I could be a good teacher. I thought I would really love it. And I talked with my advisor at Syracuse and then started on that path, and luckily it was a fairly easy transition for me, even though the first 2 years I didn't take any education courses.
What was your first teaching job like before Jericho?
Okay, my first teaching job was at a tiny school district out in the Hamptons called Bridgehampton. It was so tiny. It was a K-12 school. I taught there for 4 years, and it wasn't your typical Hampton school. My biggest graduating class was 18. The smallest was six. And I taught all kinds of stuff there because the classes were so small. I taught Health 8, Health 11, Marine Bio, Biology, Earth Science. It was crazy. And it was a very different experience than Jericho, but I felt it was a really good learning experience for me. And I learned how to deal with different types of kids, which I think helped me transition here. But it was vastly different than Jericho. In every way.
It sounds
every way
different
than Jericho, yeah. But it was a great job, and I loved the kids. I found out that was where my first year I cried every single day, I think, pretty much, and realized, oh my God, I don't think I can do this. But somewhere around April, it started to really click, and then I realized I really liked it. I really liked kids, and I just had to kind of not be so hard on myself and enjoy the job versus trying to be perfect all the time.
Yeah. And how did you get from there to Jericho? How did that transition happen?
I was going to get married. I got married, and my husband at the time, his job was much more into Suffolk County, not so east, close, in Huntington area, and the commute was just going to be too long. So I knew I needed to find a job closer to where we were going to live. And I looked, and I had no idea Jericho. And I applied, and my sister-in-law's like, "Oh my God, that's the best district ever. If you get in there, you're golden." And then that got me all nervous. And I got here, and I just had this unicorn certification. Most people, when they do science education, they do bio and chem cert. I was bio and earth cert. And there's very few of us, and they just happen to need a bio-earth science certification teacher, and I'm one of few, so I got very lucky. And yeah.
No, sorry, continue.
Oh, no. That was
it?
Yep, that's it.
So how did you get the forensics program to happen?
So, it's not what I'm certified in. There is no certification in forensics. So when you get science education certified, you have a primary area and you have a major minor kind of thing. So my major was bio, my minor was earth, but you're also certified in general science. So you can teach an elective. And I was always fascinated with pathology. And I found out that Northport High School, which was near where I lived, had a forensics program in the high school, and I was all about it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we need one here at Jericho. So I petitioned the Board of Education, and with the help of my curriculum associate at the time, I got approved to write and run a course in 2002, and I was ecstatic about it. And I think I was like the third or fourth program on Long Island. I think it was Northport, East Meadow, and then we came right in. So we were one of the first to dive into the forensics thing, and I was beyond excited because this was like my passion. I love morbid stuff and serial killer stuff, and not because I want to commit crime. It's because I don't I think people probably describe me as very, very nice, and I can't wrap my head around how people can be so cruel. So I figure if you study it, maybe you can kind of get an insight as to why people do horrible things to other people, and how can we maybe remedy that.
Yeah, and I'm in not your forensics
class. I wish
class,
you were in mine, Micha.
But yeah, it's a very interesting class, and I'm like glad you created it.
Oh, good.
Me and a bunch of other people, we would have had no other exposure to this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because no other class kind of teaches, in a way, both psychology and science.
Yeah.
Because it very much mixes the two.
That was the goal. Was it not to be a typical science class? Most science classes are what they call true science, and this is an applied science. So you're taking the stuff that you learn from biochem and physics and applying it to real world application. So it doesn't necessarily lend itself to like this all lab stuff, because all these other things play in. And I think most kids every year I've been teaching it, they like the case studies the best. That's like the best part of the course, and that's where like the psychology comes in, the discussion, and then every day there's something in the news. Yeah. Every day. So
we got kind of lucky this year with
Gilgo. Crazy. We're still waiting on the Fry hearing.
I wasn't even talking about Gilgo, I was talking about the one that was here.
Oh, the one across the street?
Yeah.
We were watching that happen. I'm waiting for more bodies to come out of there, if I'm being honest.
The next day I saw the news, and they tried to call it a nature reserve, but the camera angle that they had of the area was very clearly you could only get that from the school.
Oh my gosh.
And it was just so funny to me that they tried their best to not say that it was right next to school.
But it was right next to school. It's very funny.
And I guess the rest is history. So now we know the rest of the story.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing your journey with us and the impact that you've made here at Jericho.
Thank you.
Congratulations on
Thank
a
you
remarkable
so much.
career.
And just a little aside, it was awesome working with you in Frozen. I never thought that would be something I would ever do, because that is certainly not my wheelhouse, as we've seen, but it was a joy. And teaching here has been an absolute joy. I've loved every second of my career here at Jericho. So thank you for doing this. It's been a pleasure. And it's been nice getting to know you too, Micha.
You too.